Knowing that as a mom who does have a special needs daughter, I know that I love her more than anybody else.
When we pulled him out and started homeschooling him, it was like night and day.
The other thing about having a special needs child with homeschooling is that you can focus on exactly what they need.
Hi, my name is Leilani. I am a former public and private school teacher. I also evaluate homeschoolers in the state of Florida, as well as homeschool my 4 beautiful children, one of which has special needs. And this video is going to be very unique because I had the privilege and the opportunity to sit down with a group of other homeschool moms that are all YouTubers, and we had a nice lovely little interview, roundtable discussion. In this video, I'm only going to show you a segment of that interview, answering the questions: can you homeschool a child with a learning disability or special needs? What qualifications, and are you qualified to homeschool your kids? Do you have to teach all the subjects every day? And how long does it take to homeschool each day? I will go ahead and stick the timestamps down below, and if you are interested in watching a much longer version of the interview or checking out some other segments that these other YouTubers placed on their channels, I will stick all the links down below as well as a playlist. Now, this interview was actually brought together by Becky over at Russell's Living Life, and her link will be down below as well. But do check this out. I suggest you sit down or stand up and wash the dishes or turn this on in your car, because you're gonna get a ton of really good information and ideas. Also, please let me know down in the comments below if you kind of like this style video, if it's helpful, if it's informative, if this is something, you know, in the far future or near future that I should try and pursue again. Hope you guys enjoy this interview and let me know what you think.
Okay, I am here with an awesome group of homeschool moms, and we are going to answer some questions. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm the host. I am Becky, and this is Russell's Loving Life. I am a homeschooling mom of 2, and I have been homeschooling for 6 years.
I'm Nina from Everyday Blessing. I'm a homeschooling mom with 5 kids at home, 6 kids total, and I have been homeschooling for 3.5 years.
I'm Katie with Life the Mundane. I have 6 kiddos, and we have been homeschooling for about 5 years, but it feels like a lot longer because I'm a second-generation homeschooler. So I've gotten to be the student and the teacher.
I'm Leilani. I have my channel, Living with Eve. I have 4 kids. I've been homeschooling them, so he's in 4th grade, so that's 5 years.
I'm Ryan, Mom on Mission, and I have 3 boys. We've been homeschooling for 4 years.
Hi, Mommy on the Move here. I have 4 kids, and I have been homeschooling for 1 year.
Hey, I'm Colleen. My channel is called Our Blessed Life. I am homeschooling 2 girls. One is entering 11th grade this upcoming year, and the other is entering 2nd grade. And this is going to be upcoming my 9th year homeschooling.
Hi, my name is Ingrid from the Ingrid Chronicles. I have 5 girls, 2 are home. The others are adults. I have been homeschooling for 5 years now.
Can you homeschool your child with learning disabilities or with special needs? We'll start with Colleen on that one.
Yes, you definitely can. My daughter Sophie this year just finished 1st grade, and she has set D5, which is a rare genetic condition. We thought about public school with her just because when your child needs a lot of therapies and you go to doctors and things like that, they really push public school on you. At least they did with me. However, when we had her evaluated by the public school, we actually found out that the amount of therapy that she was going to get through public school was actually very little. And on top of that, it was not going to be individual therapy or private therapy like she had been getting. It was going to be group therapy that was not really specialized to her needs. So we basically felt like homeschooling her, in addition to being good on the education side, was good for her therapy, because she was only going to get maybe an hour and a half of therapy to 2 hours a week through public school, and it was going to be mostly group and mostly not focused on her needs. Where in the early stages of this, we were able to do 8 hours of private therapy and then work school around that and her medical conditions and her medical appointments. So for us, it has been really a blessing to be able to get her the care that she needs and still be able to homeschool. And then the other thing with homeschooling on the actual education side with a special needs child is that you can do exactly what they need. So with Sophie, she's not been diagnosed yet with any specific learning disabilities, but she has been tested and she is at risk for certain learning disabilities. And she has global delays, and so she's behind. She is this year grade-wise or age-wise would have been in second grade, but she was in first grade, and she really was doing more of a kindergarten level work. And so for her, we kind of have the sort of making progress where you have 2 steps forward, but then 1 step back, and then maybe 2 steps forward, and then maybe 2 steps back. And then usually it's like 4 steps forward and then a couple of steps back. So what we do, and homeschooling that's really good for that, is we can start with one curriculum, and then when she hits a brick wall, which it's not if, it's when, she's going to hit a brick wall. And when that happens, then we can pivot and we can move to another curriculum, and we can continue to make progress. And sometimes we go back to the first curriculum, but we do whatever she needs, and we do it at her pace and her time. And if there's a day when she needs to do less, then we do less. If there's a day when she wants to do more, then we can do more. And in public school, you're just not going to get that one-on-one hands-on with your child. And also, no one loves and cares for your child as much as you do. So for me, I can't imagine putting Sophie in public school, or honestly any other type of school. I just don't feel that she would have made the same amount of progress. And it has nothing to do with me as being an awesome teacher. It just has to do with somebody that can sit beside her every single day, do the hard things, do it over and over again, and do it 1,000 million times, as many times as it takes, and then do it again tomorrow, and just not give up. I mean, it's really more about that. And I just think that most of the time, the mom is going to be the one that's going to do the thing over and over again and not give up. And I think that's why our special needs kids really can thrive in homeschooling.
Yeah, very well put. Let's go to Nina next.
So I definitely agree with everything that Colleen said. And we started out in public school. My son went to public school all the way up until the middle of 4th grade, and he was getting services, speech services and things like that, like social interaction services, because he was found to be on the spectrum. And it was stressful. It was too overwhelming. The therapy that he was getting wasn't really benefiting him, because by the time it came for him to be pulled out of class to have therapy, he was already stressed to the max. So nothing was benefiting him at all. When we pulled him out and started homeschooling him, it was like night and day. It was amazing, the difference that it made. And I'm not saying that every special needs child should be homeschooled, but if it's on your heart, don't just dismiss it. Explore it as an option. And so something that's very common with Asperger's is that you have tunnel vision, and you're very obsessed with one certain thing for a very, very long time. And you can ask, for example, right now, Mario Kart. Ask my kids on the spectrum anything about Mario Kart. They know it. They've seen the YouTube videos. They've seen everything about it. The mods and the different wheels that make you go faster. All of these things, right? All of this useless information. We use that all day long in school. So whatever their interest is, whatever their hyper focus is at that time, we use it. Write me a story, write me a chapter about Luigi and Mario. They just got into a fight, and Toad has to be the peacemaker. So what's Toad gonna do? Here's your social story. You know, it's absolutely possible to homeschool your special needs children. Not only is it possible, sometimes it's more beneficial, in my opinion.
All right, Leilani.
Everything Nina said, everything that Colleen said was right. In fact, Nina, like as you were speaking, I taught in the public school for 10 years, and I had a child that had Asperger's for 3 years in my classroom, and I absolutely adored him. And one of the things with the public school, I don't know if this is happening in your state, but it's happening in my state, where parents are realizing that they care more about their kids, like Colleen said, than the teachers did. And it was reminding me of when I had this student, and if you teacher, I know some of you guys were teachers, and you could probably remember these moments, going to lunch, sitting with the other teachers, and all the other teachers do is complain about the students. Well, he was one of the kids that they complained about all the time, and it always broke my heart. But I knew that I loved him to death. But knowing that as a mom who does have a special needs daughter, I know that I love her more than anybody else. The other thing with the public school is the need for special needs teachers that are good is huge. But we have so many kids nowadays that are diagnosed with a disability, and some with extreme disabilities like cerebral palsy and autism and Down syndrome, and it goes on and on and on, that they don't have enough teachers that care. So they will stick substitute teachers in there every single day, and these kids aren't getting an education. They're becoming babysat. And I think the day that I actually decided to homeschool was I was pregnant with my second child. I was walking down the hallway, and there was a kid that has autism, and I knew his mom because his mom was a teacher at that school, and he was wandering around the hallways because his teacher was absent that day, and there was a substitute teacher in there, and he didn't have anywhere to go. So I had to actually, take care of him. But the thing is, the kids make fun of him. It broke my heart. That day I decided to homeschool and it was official. It was a turnaround. And and what bothers me the most, and I will be completely honest, special needs families are the families that I like to evaluate and support the most, because they're scared that they're doing their child a disservice, that they're missing out on therapies, that they're missing something, and they're not. They're absolutely not. I knew a parent, and this is one that I left the house and I sat in my car and I broke down crying, but it was a child that they were not going to live past a certain age, and the parents knew that. They had cerebral palsy, they were mute, there was many others, but they needed to have an evaluator because the state recommends it. They were terrified when I walked into their house. But when they told me stories about how the older sister, who was an adult, was homeschooling the child as the mom went out and worked to make a living, the bonding between the sister and the brother became intense because she was the only one that could understand him and find what he needed. That doesn't happen in a public school setting. And I think a lot of parents are coming to the realization that they really truly have that power to homeschool and have that impact on their child that nobody else, can. It's just, it's a beautiful situation. So sorry, I see a lot of you guys are feeling the same way I do.
All right, so can you homeschool special needs? Absolutely. Like everybody else said, you definitely can, and there are so many benefits to homeschooling special needs that I think a lot of people have touched on. I personally have a kiddo with a genetic disorder called 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, and part of that syndrome is that she also has hearing loss, she has juvenile arthritis, she just has a lot of different things going on with her body, medical special needs wise, and then I also have a son on the spectrum, and homeschooling has been a big blessing. It's a challenge when you're homeschooling special needs. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all, but it can be a huge blessing for your kids. I heard it described this way once, and I really think that this resonated with me a lot. If you think about your experience personally growing up in school, a lot of us had at least one just super amazing teacher. They went out of their way to make everything fun, to teach to your learning style. They maybe spent extra time walking alongside you and personalizing that education and just giving you a lot of attention. But it took them a long time to learn what you need in order to do that and to build on that. And by the end of the year, a lot of times it was this fantastic experience. And then you go to the next year in school and you have a totally new teacher. And even if they were the same amazing, awesome kind of teacher as before,
they still had to start from square one on learning you before they could tailor things to you. And so while we may not have the formal education of a special needs teacher or something like that, what we do have is we have the advantage of building on our knowledge of our kids year after year after year. We get to be a student of our students, and that is a gift for all of our kids, special needs or not, that we get to do. And I really think it's something that we can forget how much of a blessing that is. So I can learn that my child learns best when they have something more kinesthetic or more visual or more auditory, and then I can build on that and make next year even better. So I think that's something that we have to remember. The second thing I would just say is that if you are homeschooling a kid with special needs, beware of the mom guilt. As Leilani said, definitely there's a lot of parents who feel very unsure of themselves because our kids don't finish things typically in the way that other kids without special needs or learning disabilities might do. And they don't follow the same schedule, and we shouldn't be trying to make them do that. That's why we're homeschooling, is to individualize their education. We, when kids are in public school with special needs, they get an IEP, an individualized education plan. Well, when we homeschool, every single kid gets an individualized education plan. And I think that that is a huge benefit. But it can be hard because sometimes the goals are not as measurable. Your child may not be able to finish a textbook or finish, like Colleen was saying, be on grade level the same way other kids can. And so we can get discouraged. And so I think the big thing is find ways to measure your kids' successes so that you can really enjoy those and celebrate those. It's a really important part. I think that finding ways, I got the idea from reading the book Homeschool Bravely, which is super awesome. I definitely recommend it. But she was talking about finding a passage of reading that's a little bit more challenging for your kid. Record them, audio or visual, reading that passage at the beginning of the school year, and then record them in the middle of the school year reading that same passage. And then at the end of the year, that same passage. This is not for your records for the state or anything like that, but it's just for you and your child to be able to see improvement. Even if your child's not able to perfectly read the whole thing by the end of the year, you might notice they do better with inflection or pausing at the punctuation marks, or maybe there's less words they stumble over or new sight words that they have grasped. Find ways like that you can measure your child's successes, not to measure them against anybody else, but to be able to celebrate the little moments. And really that's what I would advise. But really it can be such a blessing and a huge benefit to be able to have that one-on-one time with your kids and be able to personalize things to their education.
I want to add one other thing, Becky, on that. Can I add something?
Okay.
I was just going to say that the other thing about having a special needs child with homeschooling is that you can focus on exactly what they need. And even if they're in a class with other kids that have special needs, they may all learn differently. So you can focus exactly what that child needs, and they are so much more likely to make progress that way when you can just focus on what they need and you're not having to worry about the whole classroom, because in a public school, it's going to be about the whole class, not about your individual child, who still may be able to learn whatever it is being taught, but they may need to see it not one different way, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different ways before they can get it.
That is so true. All right, the next question is, do I have to teach all of the subjects every day? And we're going to start with Yasmin on that one.
No, you do not have to teach all the subjects every day. Especially if you're just starting out homeschooling, I think that you can focus on just your core subjects, such as your language, which covers your grammar, spelling, vocabulary, and your math. Those are your core subjects. Everything else can be on a rotation basis, or just make sure that you are to look at your state guidelines as to what they require for you to what you require to teach your children, but definitely you do not need to teach it all the subjects every day. Not at all.
So I absolutely agree. You don't need to teach every single subject every day. It's not, even in public school, you don't get every subject every day. You have music on a certain day, you have art on another day. As long as you're doing your core subjects, every day, then everything else just kind of falls into place, really, for us anyway. It just kind of, we get into a routine, we get into a habit, and trying to cram everything into one day and check off all the boxes, make sure it's all done. You're just going to make yourself crazy. You're just going to make yourself want to not do anything. So I would say definitely, as Yasmin said, focus on those core subjects. Everything else falls into place.
Definitely. And Leilani, we're going to let you answer that one as well.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything that they said is just right on. I know that I have, because I do evaluate homeschoolers in the state of Florida, I have told them several times, like those core subjects like math and spelling, the ones that you build upon, those, it's a good, I'm not saying you have to do this ever, but it is a good idea to do those every day. So, and then you could rotate history out. I do know a homeschool mom that would do chunks. So she would do 9 weeks of history plus the core subjects, and then do 9 weeks of science plus the core subjects, and then just kind of it up as she went. But really, there's no rules. You do what fits best for your family. Take field trips, be spontaneous. I mean, for example, the spaceship. That sounds it's the dragon that just lifted off last Saturday. So we live in Florida, and we can see that from where we live. So that whole day, basically, even though it was a Saturday, it was homeschooling science. And we were glued to the TV, ran outside to see it, and that's homeschooling. And we did science all day. So, yeah.
All right. The next question is, how much time out of your day does it take to homeschool? And I will start with that one. It just depends on your child. It depends on your curriculum. There is no set limit or certain amount of time that is required. In my state, I think some other states have days, but I don't think there's time set. For example, Becca is in kindergarten, and one of her long days is 2 hours. And that's a max. That's a really long day for her. Most of the time it's, an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And Bailey is in 5th, and his max is like 4 hours, but it depends on, how long it takes him to do math, or, something like that he's doing independently that he needs, help with. So there is no set time that it takes for the day.
I do it by looking at, everybody's different, every family's different. Like she said, there's absolutely no set time. I can tell you what we do in our household. Started with my preschooler, because I am homeschooling a preschooler. And even though we're not, served with the county, we're at home and we're doing some kind of schoolwork, which is, then that's a whole nother topic of what is schoolwork. And she does have Down syndrome, so we're for 5 hours a week. And I count that as preschool in my mind. And then throughout the day, we just kind of, her sister plays with her. And I even consider her sibling, when she plays with her sister. So she has a very, I call her my little therapist. So I kind of almost like, I kind of see her going into that field because she's really good at it. And they always say, you're teaching something, you learn it better than when you're learning it. So she's teaching her sister, how to do stuff, how she tries to teach her how to read. She's reading to her all the time. And so I consider that schooling. But when I do sit down with with my daughter, her sibling, who is in kindergarten, we do spend, I want to say like an hour, hour and a half, and it is a sit down for the full time. And she's one of those that will sit down for the full hour, hour and a half for kindergarten. We just added spelling to it, so that adds extra half hour. And for my older kids, my second grader, who is a really, really quick learner, I give the same amount of work that I would give any second grader. He goes through it like really super fast, and he's done. And I'm always trying to find more things to add, but I don't want to overwork him. But like 2 to 3 hours, like tops with him. But then he goes and he plays and he explores, and once again, that's still kind of homeschooling in a sense. Whether it's building Legos, he just built a rocket ship, because we watched The Dragon, so he got really inspired to do that. but that was on his own time outside of that 3 hours, because that 3 hours is like the core subjects, which is your language arts, your math, your science, and history. And in my household, music is a core subject. So, and then my oldest, who's in 4th grade, it takes him a little bit. He's not as fast as a 2nd grader. He's smart. He's brilliant. And when he's focused, he'll get his work done in 3 to 4 hours. But he likes to take breaks through the day, and he's not a morning person, so he'll start later in the day. I do try to tell my kids we're done by 2, but that's my decision. And sometimes, though, it goes over, but we try to. But the other thing too is we take our work with us to therapy sessions. And now that the quarantines or the self-isolation stuff is over, we're actually going back into the clinic, but we actually sit out in the car, make it like a flat surface, and we do schoolwork for that hour while she's in therapy sessions.
All right, next question is, am I qualified to homeschool? I'm gonna give that one to Leilani and Ryan. Who wants it first?
If you're thinking legally, I will definitely go straight to HSLDA. They will tell you per if there's anything you need prior to starting to homeschool. I will say I kind of glanced at that. By and large, there aren't any certificates or anything you have to teach in homeschool. Most states do not require that. Some states do require high school diploma, GED, and I think Washington might be a little pickier. I'm not sure on that. But my simple answer for that is if you have it in your heart to homeschool and you love your kids, willing to put in the work, because there is some work involved, whether it be with your schedule or just with planning or whatever else, then you're more than qualified. I mean, I just believe that you're their mom, you know them the best, and if you care about them and their education, then we'll see what you need.
All right,
Yeah,
Leilani.
the mere fact that you gave birth or adopted gives you a right to it. I mean, it's a God-given right. It's not by accident. There's 11 states: Georgia, New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia requires parents to have some form of educational qualification in order to homeschool, or in the case of Tennessee, to homeschool high school. And I went to the Homeschool Legal Defense, let me get the acronym, H. You guys know it. Homeschool
HSLDA.
Yeah.
HSLDA.
HSLDA. It's a mouthful. I went to their website to confirm, like, up against it, and for some reason Tennessee looks like it's not just high school, but it seemed to be all grades you had to have a GED or a high school diploma. That's something that you do need to check up with the Homeschool Legal Defense on their website. And I know on my channel, I'm going to link it down below. I don't know if you guys will link it as well. It's a really important website. I check everything with them.
Exactly. And we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank y'all so much for being here and doing this. I've got a playlist. It is called Homeschool Mom Q&A Collab. We are all going to upload our videos to that, so y'all can watch this. Thanks again to Leilani from Living with Eve, to Ryan with Mom on a Mission, Yasmin, Mom on the Move, Ingrid, the Ingrid Chronicles, Nina, Everyday Blessings, Katie, Life in the Mundane, and Colleen with Our Blessed Life. Thank you so much for taking time to do this and help other homeschool moms, parents, dads, people looking to homeschool. That was our goal for this, was just to provide so much information to them to help them, because it can be so overwhelming when you first start. So thank y'all so much for being here, and y'all have a great day.